In this example, I'm going to be showing you how to edit the flange profile of the sheet metal edge flange tool. So before we jump into that, notice I have a sketch here, and it's 100 millimeters by 150 millimeters up here. If I jump over to the sheet metal toolbar, I'm going to go ahead and choose this base flange tab tool, and let's go ahead and spin that around so we can see what's happening here. Now, as far as the amount or the length of this, type in 50 for the depth. And then over here, as far as your thickness, I'm going to change this to 5 millimeters so you can really see what's going on. Now notice here the material is on the inside of the shape, right? It starts here at the origin, it comes up here, it's on the inside. I also have the option of flipping that over so it's on the outside. So if I were to do that, notice this dimension of 100 would not include that thickness of material. So it'd actually be 105 from the bottom here all the way to the top surface. So make sure you're aware if you have material on the inside of your flange or the outside of the flange. It's very important, especially if you're weighing your part at the end of the day. If you have material on the outside and you're expecting to have on the inside, your part's going to be too heavy and you're going to get that answer wrong on the exam. So double check you have this set the right direction. And it's not necessarily always to be turned off, because depending on how you design the part, you might need to move that material either inside or outside, depending. All right, once you have this shape here, go ahead and click on OK. And there it is. And now come up here and let's use the Edge Flange tool. Click on Edge Flange. Let's go ahead and choose this one right here. And I can just drag this across over here. Now I have a bunch of different options here of how I want that material to come out. So in this case here, you can see I've got a flange. Let's go say this is going to be 60 millimeters. All right, and over here I like to use this first option, which is the outer virtual sharp. All right, now as far as material, I can say I would like to have some material on the inside, which then will relieve this corner here if we need it. I can push it out a little bit, or I can actually push the bend on the outside. So it all depends on how you want to create that shape. Now generally, I like this profile here because you don't have this bend region here with some relief cuts being added. It's just pretty clean and simple, but you're not always given that choice. So in this case here, let's go ahead and choose that first option here, and let's say trim side bends. Go ahead and click on OK. And you can see here it actually opens up that little area there, so it makes it so it can easily bend. All right. Now what I'd like to do is actually make this shape follow on the inside here. So I want to extend this out to that shape. Now I could of course click on the surface here, start a sketch, and then continue on this flange if I wanted to, or I can go back to the original feature. Now notice here at the very top, you can say Edit Flange Profile. Click on that one there. I'd like to just click somewhere in the window and hit Normal to, so I'm looking directly at this. And then let's go ahead and modify the shape. So over here, notice I want to have this material kind of coming on the inside here. Now I can't have it exactly touching because that would cause a problem. So I need to kind of bring in some material directly in. Notice we've got one closed profile here, and I need to continue doing that. So over here, let's go ahead and start a line here. Let's bring it over here fairly close. Let's bring it down over here, and bring it down here about parallel, and then bring it over. Now notice this is going to cause some issues for us because we don't have one closed profile anymore. No problem. Go up here to Trim Entities, trim this out here, and notice we do have it being happy now. And go up here, add a couple other things. Let's go ahead and add a dimension from this into here. Let's call it 1 millimeter. And then same thing over here. Notice I've got this little open region here. You could try to bring this all the way down here. The only problem is if you come into this little bend region here, it'll generally cause an error. So you generally want to kind of bring that down as close as you can. You might need to relieve it. And it really depends on what's going on in the exam. You're probably not going to be given this luxury, but I do want to point out if you do start editing these shapes like this could be a potential problem. So definitely keep your eye peeled for that. Same thing up here. Let's go ahead and add a dimension from here over to here. Let's call it 1 millimeter again. And now we can also define this length here. So from here to the outside, let's define that as 60. Now you can see everything's pretty much fully defined besides this little area right in here. Let's go ahead and just add a dimension here. Let's call it 2.5. All right, now everything is fully defined. Go ahead and click on Finish. And that adds all that directly to that same profile. Looks pretty good. Anyways, that is the Edge Flange tool, and that is the way you can modify the profile all in that same feature. You can always get back to that whenever you'd like by clicking on the edge flange itself. Come up here to the edit feature and then click on edit flange profile. The one requirement is that it has one continuous outside boundary and that you don't intersect the bend area. So in this bend area right here, you can see we've kind of eluded this by going around it. If, for instance, if you had a bigger bend radius in there, you might need to make a couple of other modifications. But in this case, we're trying to learn what's going to be on the exam. More than likely, you're going to have something similar to this on the exam, actually modifying that edge flange profile. So just make sure you're aware of how to edit the flange profile and really pay attention to the details as far as the bend radius, the gaps, all those little things in there, because those are going to be those small little sticking points that might get you on the exam if you don't pay attention. So definitely review all the different flange positions, the angles, the bend radius, the gaps. Take a look at all these available options because there could be a few different variations there that you might easily miss if you don't really pay attention.